Welcome to our show. I'm your host, Zakia G.E.K. Part. Our guest today is Dr. Ricardo Carrillo. Dr. Carrillo, would you please explain to us what you do, your official title, and what you do in your practice?
Okay, I'm a licensed psychologist, have been for a number of years. I have a small private practice here in Berkeley. I also work for the City and County of San Francisco as a crisis responder and what called CIT, part of the CIT team, crisis intervention team with the police, having to deal with people who are in danger of harming themselves or harming others. So that's what I do, and I'm here to share a little bit about the traditional medicine work that we're doing in the Bay Area.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm always interested in what's going on in the Bay Area in terms of medicine. You've been practicing for quite some time,
Right.
I understand.
Right. 40 years.
40 years. So you've seen a lot and done a lot
Right.
during that time. Yeah, so there's such a problem here in the Bay Area with mental illness. And, so I'm just wondering, have you had a lot of firsthand, experience with, I know a lot of the homeless people are suffering from
Well,
mental illness.
working City and County of San Francisco, I've worked for La Clínica de la Raza. I've worked as a consultant to Mission Mental Health, and I've also worked recently with at the statewide level, Latino mental health. So yes, the issues confronting us today with mental illness seems to be increasing with time. I think we've got a pandemic of chemical dependency and mental illness. We've got a number of people that are homeless, and our systems are overwhelmed. So we really don't have the capacity to engage, to get people housed, to deal with them, because we're also a very progressive area, which means that if you're mentally ill and you're an adult, you have the option of declining services. If you don't feel like you're going to get what you need, or you don't want to be linked to a service, or you don't want to take medication, that's your prerogative. So it really takes a long time to develop a relationship with somebody, trusting enough for them to be willing, when they're ready, to participate in the multitude of services the Bay Area has for people who are homeless and mentally ill. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because I was thinking, of course, that it would be much simpler, not knowing the ins and outs of of what you do, of course. So you've seen how difficult it is to get the people with mental illness into taking part into the services. But that's a great strategy, of course, people need to feel comfortable, in order to, trust and feel that, they're going to be helped.
Well, I think there's really a topic whenever I do training that needs to be addressed, whoever is serving people, whoever is in a position of service, and that is, are you the one? Are you the one that I can tell what's happened to me? Are you the one that I can disclose the traumas that I've had, either as a child or as an adult? Do you have the capacity to hold my story, right? So I think that's step number one. And since I'm a trauma specialist, I work with veterans, I work with victims of crime, I work with a number of different people. Post-traumatic stress disorder is that a conglomeration of symptoms. It doesn't really treat the person holistically. So somebody goes off to war, or somebody's been violated, or somebody's been assaulted. We have to understand it's not what's wrong with you, it's what's happened to you. So we're victimized, we're hopeless, helpless about it, but we have to learn how to be survivors. I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore, which means that you become dismissing or avoidant of people, right?
Of course.
But in order to heal, you've got to do it in community. There has to be a community effort of people like you that have gone through it and find ways of connecting with other people. So in Mexico, we look at things very, very differently. In Mexico, we call trauma, serious trauma, which means loss of the spirit. I mean, the spirit has gone away. And if you've seen lots of, movies and things where people have a blanket stare, they don't see anything. In our book, we have a number of examples of that. That's an example of, not being together, not being connected. So the approach to doing that in Mexico and what we've learned how to do here in Northern California is to incorporate ways of engaging and helping somebody reconnect with their spirituality. In the chemical dependency field, they say, biopsychosocial spiritual, which is good because that was the first time anybody in behavioral health took spirituality into account. Traditional medicine in Mexico, it begins with the spirit. It begins with calling the ancestors. It begins to get support, how we're going to help you. And you pray to find out what the direction should be that you take. And so that's a foundation that's very, very different. Then you have to teach people how to regulate their physical symptomology of fear, tension, palpitations, shortness of breath. You deal with shortness of breath by teaching people how to breathe in a boxed way with a lavender pouch. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe again into your lavender. That's a natural tranquilizer. People don't know that. So that helps you calm yourself down. And all of a sudden you've got some control over this anxiety and tension that you're feeling. Acupuncture. We talked about holistic medicine. Auricular acupuncture is treatment of choice. It's called ear therapy for somebody who has a hyper-aroused central nervous system. So when the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system don't do their job, and you have an activated limbic system, which is fight, flight, freeze, right? When people are assaulted, robbed, threatened, then one has to learn, it doesn't go away with time. You have to actively do something about regulating your symptoms. That in turn helps you because we have these cognitions. We have the survivor guilt when we've been violated. Bad things happen. Why do bad things happen? Why do bad things happen to me? I must be bad, right? So, and if somebody dies, for example, in some situation, you have survivor guilt. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, what didn't I do? I might have done something different. Yeah. So I think it's important to help people understand that. And then, of course, you have to dream and you have to pray about what it is that you need to do from here on out. I ask a question that people struggle with when I work with people that are traumatized. Why do you think this happened?
That's a very important question.
Why do you think this happened to you now?
Yeah, because most people don't really think about that. They just feel that I'm the victim.
Right.
And they don't even think about the question that you asked. And that's really important. The other thing that resonates with me is the spirituality, which is, my people,
right.
Africans, African American people,
right.
very spiritual people. But I see today that spirituality has left, as you said. And so it's like being able to come back to that middle or that center, where we're from. And I'm just wondering, do you think that, I have a word that I call cityfied, becoming cityfied, moving from your home to a new area and getting involved in all that goes on there is partly responsible for the loss of that spirituality, taking on new things and thinking that, my spirit, where I'm from and what my family is about is no longer important.
Right. That's why there's a movement, I think around the world, of people becoming rerooted in their traditions, in their spirituality. For example, in the book we have Sal Nunes, who's a Puerto Rican psychologist who drums. So he does medicinal praxis. He does rumba beats in a way that helps to call the energy of the ancestors to get you balanced. And it's a great teaching because Latino youth and African American don't know they come from the same place, West Africa. So those traditions came with the slaves. right?
That's right.
But they didn't allow themselves to lose that. Look at Puerto Rico, look at Santo Domingo, look at Cuba, right? So everyone drums. So it's important to teach people, and that's what my brother does, is he teaches people their, Harry Belafonte did a video documentary called The Roots of Rhythm, R-O-U-T-E-S, so that you see where they come from, and you say, you know what? We come from the same place. So that really helps broker that, and all of us need to do that. All of us need to learn what our traditions are. Latino mental health, we learned through research that the more rooted somebody is, the more balanced they are, the more healthy they are, the better they eat, the more connected they are to their community, the more clarity they have about their purpose. Whether they're immigrants or not, doesn't matter. They bring that with them.
That's right, absolutely. So, your book, I would like for you to talk a little bit about your book.
Well, the book was written in 2017. It's a product of the work that still goes on at La Clínica de la Raza. The project is called Cultura y Bienestar. That's the name of the book. It means culture and wellness. And so
Beautiful.
what that means is that what we've done is introduce mental health providers to the incorporation of traditional Mesoamerican medicine. Not only Mesoamerican medicine, but Puerto Rican medicine, Cuban medicine, where people come from. So in this book, there's an introduction about that. There is some of the research, the behavioral health research, where it's gone. When I went to school, there were 3 articles on curanderismo written by Jewish psychiatrists, and it was called witchcraft. Now, you find a number of dissertations, a number of books, a number of different people calling on the medicine and incorporating it for practice. Herbalists, there's incredible herbalists in here. Sal explaining his drummer. One of our poets actually wrote his dissertation on a curandera who ended up running a mental health clinic in Northwest Denver.
So beautiful.
So yeah, the book is available, and I have a chapter on the treatment of susto. So working with people, because I was seeing people that were being robbed and assaulted all the time in the Fruitvale district, and they come in and help us, and so I talk about the experiences of doing that, and now I'm training people in how to go about incorporating a particular model that helps people be rooted in their culture, use ceremonies like sweat lodges, acupuncture, meditation, cleansings, and calling on the spirit and your ancestors to help you.
That is so beautiful. That's so needed in our communities, and you're helping in the community.
Well, myself and Concha Saucedo, who's the founder of Instituto Familiar de la Raza, so she's the other editor on there, and she did her work. She planted the seed. That program is still going in the mission.
Oh, that is so great. Our communities need so much. And you're training people to go out and do this work also, which is so beneficial for all of us, So that is absolutely amazing. You had mentioned that, you work with the police department, you had mentioned. Yeah, and so that kind of stirred up something in me, because I know there has been a lot of instances with police going out and actually killing people with mental illness. And I'm just wondering, have you been involved in any of, did they ever call you or ask for your help and trying to deal with these situations?
There's actually a model called Crisis Intervention Team, CIT, where police officers are trained in time and distance. Let's not react. Let's take our time. Let's try to analyze the situation. Let's do this by incorporating community people, stakeholders in this, psychologists, NAMI, National Association of Mentally Ill, and find a way of doing collaborative policing. But that's a criminal justice or a law enforcement model. The problem with a law enforcement model that's in the lead, they're not qualified. I mean, you experience, you learn how to, talk to people, and the cops that are over, they're wonderful. They're really phenomenal police officers. here and San Antonio, Texas. They have a mental health unit that's actually has a documentary on Max, HBO Max, called Crisis Cops.
Oh.
Joe and Ed. Yeah, they're very good. And so there is a movement now about how do we do that. And you don't get better. You don't stop killing people if you're afraid, if you're threatened. And let's face it, that's kind of been the orientation for a long time. However, if one deals with their own recovery, and that's what these cops do with the crisis cops, they got their own issues. One's divorcing, one's a vet, the other one's got a family. You take care of yourself, and that's what we advocate with law enforcement. You need a circle. You need to talk about what's going on. You need to go to therapy. You need some acupuncture. Get away from the bar. Get away from the firing range and find some way of self-care, healing yourself. There are police that are now starting to respond to that. And those are the guys and gals that you want in the community, connecting with people, knowing each other. Hey, how you doing? The one gal that I worked with for many years, Lily Prillinger, she knows everybody in Haight-Ashbury. And all the guys are, hey, it's Lily, it's Lily. Yeah, they're drunk as a skunk, but hey, they appreciate Lily because Lily knows them and is going to look out for them. Hey, Doc, can you talk to this guy for me? So we have definitely collaboration. And we as a team, when we go out with a barricaded subject or we go out with somebody who's threatening somebody else, we do it as a team.
Well, that's so great to know. It's very encouraging because I often wonder what's being done because it seems like all the news is bad news. So this is some good news.
This is good news.
Yeah.
This is good
So
news. And I'm very happy to be part of it. In my community, let me tell you, I've got a lot of flack. What you doing working with the cops? Hey man, you know what they do. You know that somebody's got to work with them. Somebody's got to work.
Got to
with them.
start somewhere.
So, they call me La Ley. I'm more of a cop than they are sometimes. Because this guy just assaulted his mother. Why aren't we arresting him? Oh, he's mentally ill. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have discussions. We'll have debriefs about it. And sometimes we arrest him, and sometimes we get him to hospital.
Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing all of that. That is so wonderful. So, so I'm wondering, are there any other things that you'd like to share from your book? Or?
If I can just read a small excerpt from my introduction, I think give people an understanding of what we're doing.
Yeah.
This book will attempt to present how traditional healing approaches to have modified mental health practices in the southwestern United States, in collaboration with natural healers, psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists, and mental health systems of care, prevention, and primary care clinics. There has been a return to ancient healing practices by Eliseo Torres at the University of New Mexico, teaching classes, offering week-long seminars and symposiums on traditional healing practices. 2 clinics in the San Francisco Bay Area, Instituto Familiar de la Raza and La Clínica de la Raza, have implemented traditional healing practices as community building, research, and training to budding therapists as part of their cultural competence training models. The Cuauhtecan Nation in San Antonio, Texas, is rebuilding their traditions, language, and ceremonies as they fight for their sovereignty. There is a strong crossbreeding and sharing of the wealth of wisdom among South and Central American healers and mestizo communities in the Southwest. SEDEC, Centro de Desarrollo Humano hacia la Comunidad in Cuernavaca, Mexico, is an institute that brings curanderos to the conference in New Mexico and consults with our communities annually. Temescales, sweat lodges, are common in many Chicano and indigenous communities, both urban and rural settings. There have been a surge in doctoral dissertations with the emphasis on traditional healing and mental health issues. Traditional healers have also begun to describe mental illness within the context of their diagnostic systems. Traditional healing has also been incorporated into the bomba tradition of Caribbean drumming, as manifested by Dr. Sal Nunez's medicinal praxis, a model of community building with drums, chants, and songs from the Caribbean and Africa. This model is effectively being used in various agencies in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Lovely.
So I invite people to get the book from Amazon.
And okay, from Amazon. Can they also get it from other like local bookstores in the Mission or?
We're trying to make that happen. The different bookstores that might be interested in having it.
Yeah. Because bookstores can also, if someone goes into a bookstore and want to order the book, it could actually order the book for them. Yeah. So that's important to know. Some folks don't like to go to Amazon.
Right, okay. I hear you.
So the alternatives, and they can buy it from you also?
They can.
Okay, great. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much. This is such valuable information, for the community, and I'm learning so much here. I really appreciate, your knowledge, the extensive of your practice, working with the community the way that you're working with the community. And, what did we say? It takes a village.
It does.
It absolutely takes a village. Yeah. So, I was wondering, I know that we've had a lot of conversation, and, specifically for people, how do you define trauma? Is there a certain way, that you define it?
Well, again, the traditional diagnostic and statistical manual definition of trauma is post-traumatic stress disorder, which means that you've been threatened, you feel afraid, and your central nervous system has been altered. You're no longer functioning at the normal place of, getting up in the morning and relaxing at night. Now you have an activated limbic system, which is telling you, you have to be afraid. You're in danger. So that is important because that's the way we look at it from here. But from the Mesoamerican point of view, it's the loss of the spirit. So it has to be, my book chapter is called Papalote Medicine. What that means is butterfly medicine. In order for a butterfly to transform, it has to go into a cocoon, right? So we have to wrap ourselves around people who are traumatized to make it safe for them, to help them understand that they're not the only ones, and there are ways for them to learn how to do their healing so that they can join a community of people that have been harmed before and make it safe for others.
So have you seen a lot of success, like do you get to see people after they recover, so to speak?
Most people do. Most people are looking for assistance. And I think the biggest thing that I do for people, especially veterans, I'm not a veteran. My son and my daughter-in-law were on the USS Higgins. My son-in-law is active duty National Guard. All of my grandchildren are going to move in that direction. So we're a military family. So I understand, my son-in-law has been deployed 6 times. And, he's seen a lot of different things. And so in order for him to be a good dad, he has to learn how to manage his symptoms. So that's what I do for people. I hold a space. I got you. Okay. And in order to work with somebody, you have to have what's called a secure attachment. I see you, I understand you, and I'm here for you.
Okay. Yeah, so are there any last minute words that you want to share with the audience, because we're coming to...
Yeah, I'd like for people to, that are interested in the book, we've got another book coming out soon called Ancestral Wisdom, which is how do you incorporate ceremony into psychotherapy and healing practices. So that'll be, might be available through Simon & Schuster. Okay. Looks like we might have a contract. If you want to get a hold of me, I can be reached at rcarrillo03@comcast.net. That's my email. And the number to connect with me directly is 559-804-1671.
Okay. If you could just spell your email address.
Yeah, rcarrillo03@comcast.net.
Okay, so well, we are just about ready to close. And yeah, so you have your book and you have a book coming out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see futuristically? What are you looking at doing? Another third book or
A novel.
a novel?
A novel about a ex-veteran who's a healer who marries one of the police that he's working with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they both have history of trauma, and they influence the police department to becoming a more healing community.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
So Dr. Ricardo Carrillo, so great to have you here today. Enjoyed, all the wisdom that you dropped, and looking forward to that book.
Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Our pleasure.